puzzled when it comes to what to do about China. 2024 is the year of elections, and the Democrats and Republicans want to put their president. For that, they have to feel the pulse of the Americans and decode whether they want an anti-China narrative or not. Now, the Republicans have delivered a huge blow to Joe Biden and his administration. Even the Republicans are at odds among themselves, as they are finding it hard to cling to a single policy. During an oversight hearing of the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, the chairman of the House Financial Committee criticized President Joe Biden's plan to restrict outbound investment in Chinese tech companies as nonsense. Representative Patrick McHenry, a Republican from North Carolina, advocated for using time-tested tools to get tough on China, not novel concepts. In other words, they want Biden to do something effective, instead of superficially appearing to fight China. However, this does not mean Republicans are against China. They are doing so to prevent Biden from getting reelected. McHenry argued that if Biden opposed Beijing's state-owned enterprises, the goal should be to encourage more Western investment in China, not less. You can understand what Republicans really want. They want more investments in Chinese firms because this is tied to their victory in the 2024 elections. The Republicans emphasize the importance of having more Americans in control of Chinese technology companies, stating that this aligns with why Xi Jinping has been working to reduce Western influence in these companies. McHenry expressed concerns that the Biden administration's proposal for outbound investment could assist Xi Jinping in achieving his goals and urged the Treasury Department to avoid a potential disaster in its implementation. Here, it's hard to guess why the Republicans actually want more U.S. investments in Chinese firms. But one thing is clear. They don't want the U.S. investors to drain their money out of Chinese companies. One more thing should be noted here. Not all Republicans are against the U.S. investment bans on Chinese firms. Only a fraction is against it, which begs the question of why Republicans are split at such a crucial time when elections are just a few months away. Chair Patrick McHenry of the House Financial Services Committee pointed out that the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has extensive experience in managing outbound investment. He expressed concerns about creating a new regulatory framework under an entity that lacks a similar level of expertise. McHenry noted that establishing new expertise and adopting a fresh approach as a result of the executive order could be complex and time-consuming. Instead, he argued for utilizing the proven and time-tested tool represented by OFAC. But what part of Biden's executive order the Republicans are against? Back in August this year, and in a sign of increasing tensions between the world's two largest powers, President Joe Biden signed an executive order. It was aimed at restricting and regulating high-tech investments from the U.S. into China. Senior administration officials had made it clear that this action had been driven by national security objectives rather than economic interests. But we know why this executive order was issued. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos about China's development, power, and influence on the world. Let's continue now. The United States and China had found themselves in an escalating geopolitical rivalry, despite their deep trade ties as the world's largest economies. The Biden administration had stressed that it hadn't sought a complete decoupling from China, but had taken measures such as restricting exports of advanced computer chips, limiting investments in China, and maintaining tariffs established during President Donald Trump's tenure. Biden had suggested that China's economy had faced challenges, and its global ambitions had been tempered as the U.S. had strengthened its alliances with countries like Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the European Union. The administration had consulted with its allies and industry stakeholders while shaping this executive order. But if the U.S. has allies, and if this executive order was drafted after deep consultation, why are the Republicans in the U.S. criticizing it? This exposes how this order was actually drafted, in a hurry, without any consultation. That's why not all Republicans were taken into confidence. Officials previewing the order had pointed out that China had exploited U.S. investments to advance its military modernization and weapons development. This argument is equally funny and idiotic. If that's the case, then the U.S. has to pull out its investments from every country which challenges its power. But the irony is that key Republicans were the ones who asked Joe Biden to bring restrictions on U.S. investments in China. The chair of a U.S. House committee had called on President Joe Biden to impose comprehensive restrictions on outbound U.S. investments in China, particularly in sectors that could jeopardize U.S. national security. Representative Mike Gallagher, a Republican who had led the Select Committee on China, had urged the Biden administration to broaden restrictions to cover both private and public market investments flowing into China. This request represented the latest bipartisan effort by lawmakers to pressure President Biden into implementing stringent controls on U.S. investments in China. For over 2 years, U.S. lawmakers have been pushing for increased oversight of investments made by American companies and individuals in China. Gallagher had argued that U.S. investment in China had posed significant national security and financial risks. Gallagher had emphasized that investments in sectors that had been strategically important for national security and integral to China's technological advancement should have been subject to restrictions. He had asserted that such restrictions should have ensured that the U.S. capital had not supported the People's Liberation Army's military buildup. Liu Pengyu, spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Washington, had criticized the United States for habitually politicizing technology and trade issues under the guise of national security. He had pledged to closely monitor developments and safeguard China's rights and interests. Furthermore, Gallagher had called on Biden to have consulted with U.S. allies and partners before implementing new restrictions and had encouraged them to adopt parallel restrictions on investing in China. Interestingly, this is what happened, but now some Republicans have gone against it. You can see that the Republicans wanted Biden to make this mistake, which he did. Perhaps the Republicans played very well. Earlier, they asked Joe Biden to go head-on against China, drafting permanent policies. When Joe Biden did this, he showed his leaning, putting a seal that he himself personally is against China. That's because he issued an executive order, not that the Congress passed a bill. But now, as Biden has done so, the Republicans have started to push its one faction forward, which is criticizing this executive order. By doing so, the Republicans are trying to come out clean, showing that they are not against China. Perhaps this is going to be the Republicans' covert stance on China, if it wins the election. No matter whether this happens or not, the Republicans have ensured that Joe Biden is not re-elected now. What they are doing now is even more lethal. They want Biden to go wilder further, so there is no way back. We would like to take a moment to appreciate you all for commenting and sharing your opinions. Your insights always impress us. What do you think? Will Joe Biden be forced this time to take his executive order back? Or will he be able to fight the Republicans and commit a political suicide by playing the publicity game? Let us know what you think about this in the comment section right below.